those people tuned in Tasmania, Australia and elsewhere, there needs to be something on the record about what's happening, because it's not the outside world. Are they expecting a debate?
That's a good result. Thank you.
President, I have the honour to report a bill without amendment.
The Honourable Chair of Committees reports a bill without amendment. Honourable Leader.
Mr President, I move that the third reading of the bill be made an order of the day for tomorrow.
Question is the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. Orders of the day.
Residential Parks Bill 2026, Bill number 2 of 2026, second reading.
Honourable Leader.
Mr President, I move that the sitting be suspended until the ringing of the division bells. I can't do that now. That's all right. I can have to do a second speech.
Yeah.
Briefing of it.
Just need to give a second reading.
Mr President, I move that the second reading debate be adjourned, and I'm going to seek the House's approval to head to a briefing.
Question is that the debate stand adjourned. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes. The Honourable Member for Mersey.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing, probably not, but...
On the debate stand adjourned, you're entitled to speak.
Okay, it's probably not that... it's probably not that issue, but if the debate's going to be stand adjourned, do I then get a chance to raise a point of order?
Yep.
Okay.
The question is, the debate stand adjourned. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. Honourable Leader.
Mr President, I move that the sitting be suspended until the ringing of the division bells for the continuation or for a briefing on the residential Parks Bill.
Question is the sitting be suspended. The Honourable Member for Mersey.
Thank you. It's possibly wise here. I've noticed on the order of business today that it goes to residential parks, and that's the last thing on today. I just think that there needs to be an explanation here so that people listening in the outside world are they expecting a debate regarding the greyhounds to continue, and that hasn't been clear and it hasn't been mentioned. So I think for all those people tuned in Tasmania, Australia and elsewhere, there needs to be something on the record about what's happening, because it's not on our order of business. I'd ask that the Leader and the Parliament and this House think about how that can be projected. I understand the Honourable Member's concern, and it's the business of the government, and the government are responsible for letting members, let alone the wider world, know what we're doing today. So I imagine the Honourable Leader will take that on board.
Mr President, I completely understand that this has not panned out the way that honourable members had expected it to, and I can say that it's for all honourable members, self-included. But we do have another piece of legislation for us to deal with, but there will possibly be some more comment around the other one that was potentially to progress today. So I'll leave some comment to that.
The question is that sitting be suspended until the ringing of the division bells.
That's the question.
Yeah. Contribution on the suspension?
Yeah, thank you, Mr President. I'm not
it's
really
not a debate, but a contribution.
that the House be suspended now, and I agree with the member for Mersey that we ought to be continuing on today with exactly what we came here as members in this place, prepared and expecting to do according to the sitting schedule that had been provided to honourable members, was that we were debating the Greyhound Bill today. When we adjourned here at 11 o'clock last night, that's what we were coming back to do. We had no notice as members in this place that it was the government's intention to pull this from the sitting schedule. And that is not acceptable, Mr President. We need to be prepared. As elected people representing the people of Tasmania, we need to be prepared for what we are coming to represent them on in this place. And we cannot be expected to be prepared on this bill that we are suspending for a briefing on. I appreciate that we will have a briefing. But we cannot be fully prepared when our heads were here coming back in to debate the Greyhound Bill. And there was an expectation in the community, a lot of people on both sides of this debate who want to see this resolved and deserve for it to be resolved today, and for the government to not explain to the people or to us as elected members shows complete disrespect for this House and for us as members. Complete disrespect. Not even an email. We got in here, had a look at the notice paper, and some of us might have noticed, oh, there's something missing. Greyhounds isn't on the list. What a surprise. All I can find is that a media publication on the Pulse Tasmania website. Tasmanian government delays greyhound racing ban vote to avoid upper house defeat. And seeing as it appears the government doesn't have a message for the House, perhaps this is all we can rely on. It says the Tasmanian government has pulled its greyhound racing ban bill from debate this week, conceding it does not yet have the numbers to get it through the Legislative Council. The bill needed 3 of the 5 upper house independents on side to pass. It is understood the debate will now be pushed to the next sitting in mid-May. The legislation would shut the industry down by June 30, 2029, with an immediate ban on breeding greyhounds for racing and prohibition on euthanising healthy dogs. The bill cleared the House of Assembly in December and was amended earlier this year to include a compensation package for industry participants. If passed, Tasmania will become the first Australian state to outlaw the sport following ACT's 2018 ban. Crossbench concerns have centred on the lack of industry consultation before the bill was tabled, the speed of the transition and the welfare of dogs and workers caught up in the wind-down. So thanks, Pulse, for informing elected members, honourable members in this place, as to why the government has decided to pull the bill, because it's realised it probably doesn't have the numbers to get it through. Which is not acceptable, Mr President, so I'm not happy to suspend for a briefing. I think this House ought to continue on with its business that we were expected to do when we left this place last night, that we had a duty, and the government has a duty, to the people of Tasmania to do what it said it would do. It was, again, same old pattern, changing its mind, backflipping, another kick in the guts to the industry, who is sitting on a knife's edge waiting for the outcome of this decision. They just want to know. It is entirely unfair, Mr President, so I don't support the suspension
The
here.
question is that the sitting be suspended until the ringing of the division bells, and if members have allowed a bit of latitude, but if you can stick to that or refer back to it, the honourable member for
Mr
Murchison.
President, I appreciate the latitude you're providing here, because I share a lot of the concerns raised by the member for Elwick on this. There was a whisper in the corridors after the briefing this morning, 2 briefings, one on greyhounds and one on the Grange Bill we've just dealt with, that this wasn't being proceeded with. I thought surely, if I'd known that last night, I wouldn't have got up and spoken last night, Mr President. I would have waited to have, to actually fully consider more of the matters. Clearly, this decision that's been made by way of a piece of paper on our seats when we came in, and I agree with the member, it is so disrespectful, and this is how the industry feel. They feel disrespected by the Premier, disrespected by the government. I look at the Minister, actually, or the Deputy Leader, because it's him who's responsible for this in this House. I know he doesn't determine all the order of business, but he's the one who's brought this bill in and now lets it sit with huge pressures on people in my community and other communities around the state that just want to know which way it's going. Now, to presume they know how this House is going to vote, and to pull it because they fear it may not see favour, shows this is entirely about politics. This is not about animal welfare. This is not about the welfare of participants. It's about politics. How disgraceful. It's pure politics, because if animal welfare matters, if the breeding flurry of activity and all the stimulation of ovulation, we've seen all the bitches out there in the system, is real, then what are the government saying? They say, well, let's just defer it off to May or sometime. That's budget week. Then we're into the budget session.
Yep.
It is pure politics, and it is disrespectful to every member in this place, regardless of where they stand. And I still don't genuinely know where I'm going to stand, but this makes me very frustrated and feel that this is about politics, not about good policy. It's just, and I fear and I know that members like me, like all the members who haven't spoken in this House, will be now put under extraordinary pressure from both sides. As if we haven't had enough of that already. And I spoke at the end of my contribution last night, Mr. President, about I don't want to be coerced, and I feel I have been coerced by some members in this place and some people in the community on both sides. I have had some very respectful emails from people this morning saying they really appreciated my contribution last night, which is nice. And really, I really do appreciate that too, those people who have done that. Respecting and the comment like, wherever you land your decision, will respect you. And I really, really sincerely appreciate that, which is far more than the respect this government is showing us. Now, I am not ready for the residential parks bill. I did start looking at that. I thought, well, we're just not going to have time to get to it. We started at 10 today for the purpose of, thankfully, dealing with the Grange bill. Absolutely grateful. Really appreciate that, as my community does. But, you know, here we are, the normal starting time. We could have started on the greyhounds by now. We could have gone through it. Yes, it would have been a long day, but we would have given certainty. This government's action is, and to have it through the media, like through Pulse media, not even the decency of well, I haven't checked my emails. Is there an email to us? No.
It's just by omission.
How does the Premier think this is a normal and respectful way of dealing with anybody, members or the community? So, I mean, I won't oppose the suspension for a briefing as such. But I think the government needs to take a good hard look at themselves and rethink this decision, because this is some of the worst playing of politics I have seen in my time here.
Question is that the sitting be suspended until the ringing of the division bells. The honourable member for Hobart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I certainly understand the frustration of honourable members who want to continue with debate on the greyhound racing phase-out legislation. I too would love to be able to continue with the debate and for the evidence to lead to support for the bill. But I'm surprised that the honourable member for Murchison has taken such offence. There are a number of serious and detailed questions that the honourable member for Murchison put on the record last night that can't be answered within a short space of time. Detail, for example, about any potential impact on the state budget of phasing out greyhound racing. Now, I've heard plenty of criticism of government that this legislation has been rushed. Well, here we've been given a pause, Mr. President, in order to allow the government to provide the information that has been requested by a number of members. So I think it's sensible to delay debate, and on any number of issues and any number of bills from time to time, a decision is made not to bring that legislation on. This is a matter that is of great interest in the community. I don't like talking about sides. Across the community, this issue is of great interest, Mr. President. Now, with respect, in response to the Honourable Member for Murchison saying that we're going to be put under more pressure, well, that's part of our job. It is part of our job to be responsive to community concerns. It's part of our job to be lobbied by stakeholders and constituents. It's not just a part of our job, Mr. President, it's a privilege, Mr. President. So I don't mind being put under pressure, whether it's by industry representatives or animal justice advocates, because I have the privilege of being in here representing the people of Hobart, and that comes with it the responsibility to listen, Mr. President. Now, I want to address...
I'll just remind honourable members, this is about
the seeking of
suspending...
leave.
Yes,
no, that's right.
Suspending the... So if we can keep it very tight.
Well, thank you. I'm speaking to the question of suspension. A number of matters were just raised by the Honourable Member for Murchison with fairly free rein, Mr. President, and the word coercion was used. Now, it's a very serious charge to level at someone, that they've tried to coerce you into doing something you really don't want to do. And I reject that because although no one was named, everybody in this place knows who that was referring to, Mr. President. And I reject it absolutely. I've never tried to coerce anyone into doing anything in my life. My job in here is to try to persuade people, Mr. President. Now, finally, before I sit down, there's another very serious matter that arose last night. Yesterday, honourable members were provided with a confidential briefing by the Tasmanian Racing Integrity Commissioner.
Yes. Now, this is about another matter, so you can't. This is just about the sitting being suspended. I've allowed a lot of latitude with that, but you can't introduce another matter into that debate.
It's a very connected matter that brings the reputation of this council and the trust in this council.
The question is that the sitting be suspended. So I'd ask, I would ask that that be the topic, that the sitting be suspended until the ringing of the bells.
Well, again, I sometimes worry that there are different rules applied in this place. Mr. President, it is not unreasonable for government to delay debate on this bill. It is not an unreasonable response to an issue of such seriousness and such consequence for sensitive, gentle animals like greyhounds. None of this is ideal, Mr. President, not for industry participants or people who are deeply concerned that every day this industry continues, gentle, sensitive, loving dogs are being maimed and killed. This is no trivial piece of legislation on which debate has been delayed. It has very significant consequence, and therefore time should be put into answering the questions that were asked by honourable members. Mr. President.
Question is, I'm really reluctant to allow other members to speak, but I have allowed other members, but this is really about the suspension of the sitting to allow for a briefing. So please, honourable members, keep as close to that as you can. The honourable member for Montgomery.
Keep it quick. And this is coming from the parties that wanted this debated in December, now saying they want more time. Look, we're not suspending the debate on this issue that we were discussing last night because of lack of information. We're suspending it because of lack of support. We've had 16 briefings on this issue. It should continue, and I don't support the suspension of this session because we should be debating a bill that we expected to debate.
The question is, the sitting be suspended until the ringing of the bells. The honourable member for Pembroke.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Mine is about this.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully everyone's is.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the comments you've made, but I also don't really feel like our place in the speaking order on this should really impact what we're able to say. Mr President, the member for Murchison talked about how disrespectful this is. I've still got the badge that says respect belongs in this workforce. Absolutely no respect has been shown to honourable members in the conduct of this, and any argument that's made by the government or government spokespeople hasn't been made until this has started. We came in here at 10 a.m. We had a draft schedule that said that we should be prepared to sit late last night and tonight. People have booked accommodation. People have said goodbye to their children or their partners or their families, saying we will be in for a long one. The entire community expectation is that we would deal with that today. There are people being left in limbo on both sides of this argument. I worry for the mental health of those people who are going to be waiting until at least May 19 and possibly August to get their result. Animal welfare, livelihoods, they're all at stake. Process has been thrown out the window. This is so weak. Who's pulling the strings on this, Mr President? This whole bill, I was going to argue, should the bells have been ringing, and you've probably just finished the prayer and would be getting into it in any other sitting day, that this is built on foundations of quicksand. Well, here we go. This is another example of that. People behind this should have a look in the mirror. And if they're not looking in the mirror, they can look in their smartphone. Mr President, the expectation in this community is that we were going to deal with this one way or another. I don't support this suspension. Who does it serve? It doesn't serve the advocates. It doesn't serve the community. It certainly doesn't serve this place. It really only serves a premier and his green puppeteers on the crossbench. The tail, pardon the expression, Mr President, is wagging the dog. I can't believe the situation we've ended up in.
Question is that the sitting be suspended. Honourable Member for Rumney.
Thank you, Mr President. I will speak to the suspension of the sitting, and I support suspending for the purpose of the briefing on this bill. I did just want to flag for honourable members that I do have a series of amendments to this bill that I haven't circulated because I wasn't under the impression that we wouldn't be doing it today. So I just wanted to put on record that I'm not sure that I'm really in a position to progress with this bill today. I suspect other members are probably in the same position. I support suspending for a briefing so that we can make a decision about that and people can be informed.
Thank you. Question is the sitting be suspended until the ringing of the division bells. The Honourable Deputy Leader. All right. The Honourable Member for Launceston.
Thank you. Look, I support suspension for a briefing. I agree with the comments of the other members. I would have liked to have seen us continue with the bill that we were debating yesterday. I just think for certainty for those, particularly those in the community, whichever, I know you don't like the word side, but whichever argument that they take, and I just think it's disappointing from perspective, but I will support the suspension for a briefing.
Thank you. Honourable Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr President, and I fully understand the passion involved with this, and we saw that yesterday, and I listened very closely on a personal basis last night to both sides of the discussion and the points. Thank you. And like I said, fully understand the passion in the room on that. From my point, I heard a lot of debate yesterday and especially last night on a lot of questions unanswered and probably not the full communication that would need to be on a bill. I understand it is the government's right to of the order of the business, and certainly the order of the business was that we wanted to bring Grange forward, and that is what we certainly have this morning, and I respect the quickness that was dealt with. But the residential bill was also on the list to go forward, and as always, I myself, as well as the members of this House, always try and balance the various views and cannot always please everybody. I understand some people have made their minds up, some people hadn't. And I fully respect that with everybody in the room and would like to see some more, from a personal point of view, discussion on this. But at this stage, the government has withdrawn the bill from the order of the day and will continue as it is. Thank you, Mr President.
Question is the sitting be suspended until the ringing of the division bells. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The sitting is suspended until the ringing of the bells.